know me, I'm Amanda, daughter of Eileen Birch, common law stepdaughter of Terry Hetherington. Mum is a very quiet voice who's nominated me, her very loud daughter, to speak for both of us. This year's judges face the hard task of choosing winners from an increasingly high number of entrants. It's not an easy job to do and involves a lot of reading time, so a big thank you to all of them. The awards were born when Terry left us suddenly in 2007. He was a man of nature and did not like flowers, so instead people donated money at his funeral. He liked helping anyone, but young people in particular developed their writing skills, giving advice and encouragement freely. So after much discussion, it was decided to use the money for a one-off bursary award. Cheval Books were born initiated by Alan Perry, who unfortunately is no longer able to help with the awards, but both himself and his wife Jean were avid supporters for a few years. The books are now published by Pathia. Jonathan Edwards and Rose Blake edited Cheval this year. They are both past winners of the award. And I'd like to thank them both very much. And if they'd both like to come up, Mum has a little gift for you for doing so well. She knows it's an awful lot of work, and she just wanted to say thank you. Both Jonathan and Rose are past winners of the awards, so a huge thank you. In fact, a huge thank you to all involved in the work and the support put in. Jo Ferber has been amazing since year one with her support and arranging for us to use this wonderful venue. And she has also wrote in poor Alan Kellerman to help with all the acoustics and technology. As the award grew in stature, we realised we needed to raise funds, registered as a trust, and revive Leaf Poems and Pints, which, by the way, is held the first Thursday of every month in the Cambrian Arms in Leith. So thank you to the regulars that always come, and we're always looking for new people to come, so if anybody wants to practice their reading, it's a great venue. The Cambrian Arms is brilliant to us as well. It never charges us for using their function room, and they're always very gracious and friendly. Mum's computer tutor, Malcolm Lloyd, has also been brought in. She's great at roping people in to do things for her. And he now administers and updates our website. We've received support from so many regular friends and people in the industry. I could go on and on and on and on. So just thank you. And thank you everybody for being here tonight with your support. Terry would have been so proud of what has been achieved, and delighted as we are to watch everyone's career and lives develop. Many of our young writers keep in touch. We've seen them get married, have families and find success both in the literary and outside of the literary world. Running the award and the trust is by no means an easy job, but to meet such wonderful, talented young writers and follow their careers is a privilege. The reward outweighs the work. We're going to start the evening now, because I've talked quite enough, with one of Terry's poems, Bryn Cefn D, which will be read by Jonathan Edwards.
Hi, it's lovely to be here. Congratulations to all the winners. It's wonderful, wonderful entries this year, as always. This poem is by Terry Hetherington, who is the man that we've got to thank for all of these wonderful events. It's called Bryn Cefn D. They heaved and levered rock into the pattern of mystic dance, a cipher, a fusion of tomb and temple. A spiral of stones radiated out and swirled in to the hieroglyph slab at the barrow's core, with the red jasper beneath, left to smoulder for 35 centuries. And when they felled the great ox and buried it there, with its head turned to watch, always the more of the portal, were they honouring the cosmic mother and remembering a future when the primitive magic of science held sway? Observing, perhaps, our benign grave robbers brush detritus from the scorched bones of young ancients. Our conclusions reached of sacrifice reveal only our passion for hideous drama, clutching at puny parallels with our shrieking violence, keep us uninitiated, even into the first degree of exhumed mysteries. A skull here, a votive object there, wrapped and dispatched, trickles of knowledge, where wisdom lies cocooned in the moon, and the Mayflower's white flame, and the goddess gathers dust in the silence of countless museums.
You'll have to beg my pardon, Celia, I forgot how to pronounce your second name. Laufer. Yes. Celia Laufer lived in Cardigan before moving to Norwich, to study an MA in poetry at the UE. She'd been published in the Lampeter Review, and later in the year she would be published in the AUE Creative Writing Anthology Poetry 2016. She's recently had her first journal article published by Taylor and Francis with New Writer in the International Journal for the Practice and Theory of Creative Writing. The article is called The Language of Teeth, the Truth as a Physical Embodiment of Identity in Literature. I'm sure that's written with plenty of bite and pretty good teeth. Honestly, that is the worst pun of the night. Oh, that's another pun, because I'm filming it. Celia's poem was one of the most striking entries to the Reluctant Philatelist. It was one of the shorter entries, but it was a beautifully as crafted as a cameo for the ancient world. It's a wonderful little poem, and it's a real gem. Please read Celia.
I am Celia, but I'm also known as Keely. That was my first name. Yeah, this one's from my grandfather. The Reluctant Philatelist. His former stamp-dealing profession told him not to lick stamps. You can't deal them when it's your schedule. He tried not to lick the side that said, activate me now, lick to make me half you of half somewhere else. He licked some stamps as if applying the citizenships of somewhere Russia 32, of somewhere Germany 25, of somewhere. He kissed Poland onto the backs of these places with his Polish tongue, hiding them in rows of stamps across random pages in his stamp book. When my grandfather passed, the book went to my father, who would only have to shake my grandfather's international interest, for unlicked countries scatter like ashes, leaving his Poland fragmented and raw. Thank you.
Right, next we have up is Eve Elizabeth Moriarty. She was commended in 2013 Terry Hetherington Awards, came second in the 2015 Welsh Writers Trust Robin Reeves Award. Her work appears in several Gothic anthologies, as well as in the Lancaster University anthology, Lightsync, which she also edited. She has a BA in English from Swansea Uni and an MA in Creative Writing from Lancaster University. She runs the popular poetry evening The Howl in Swansea. She is a community activist in an anti-austerity group. She represents a feminine organisation working to make live music events safer for younger girls. Eve is a big fan of animals and in general of rodents in particular. She also loves horror movies and describes herself as an emo that never grew out of this phase, and also has a music collection that is terminally embarrassing, apparently. Eve is generally clumsy and chaotic, so we have a lot in common, and she's always getting into scrapes. If there is an accident that's going to happen, it will happen to her. She's cracked her cheekbone on a dry stone wall, fractured her nose in a heated Jenga accident, and broken her finger in a high-five freak and high accident. So please, carefully, can you come onto the stage, Eve?
Eve? I don't want you to make it like a text version
family. Her words, not mine. Reporting her mum as saying that they breed like rabbits. Mary Ann grew up surrounded by a swarm of cousins, uncles and aunts from the let-go, and they made growing up as fun as it could possibly be. She was raised with 3 sisters who weren't lacking in a sense of humour by any means, and to this day she can still find herself in a headlock or caught in an endless banter. Mary Ann's love of writing has been in the making since she was a young child. Her mother, as a writer herself, would read her work to Mary Ann every night before she went to sleep. Undoubtedly, there could have been no greater inspiration for that. And there could be no greater support than that which is given to her by her family and her husband-to-be. With endless patience and love, they have offered their shoulders for her to stand on, and she is forever grateful to them for that. The judges' comments included a lovely, competent story with a folk vibe. They all seem to enjoy reading her work. I haven't read it yet, so I'm really looking forward to this. Please go on the stage.
This story is called Little Red Boy. Never go into the woods, baby boy. There are things in the woods. When he looked at the trees too longingly, Mummy would pinch the top tip of his ear. She'd give it a light wrench which made his eyes swim from the pang. And when he turned them up to her with childish accusation, he'd see that the lashes of her own eyes were glistening. She used to tell him stories of how God, when moulding her eyes from clay, had been so fond of his creation that he had made a duplicate set for him, her son. The colour was like rich soil, the sort where crops grew all year round. In the rain, it would run with a burnt orange hue. Mummy's lower lip quivered slightly like the loose strings of a harp. He stared so long, she whispered to his daddy when she thought he was asleep in his cot. His tiny toddler body turned into its stomach restlessly whilst they spoke. He preferred sleeping this way, with his fingers curled very loosely into the sheets and his cheek to the pillow. He slept on Mummy's bosom this way during nap time. When she settled him down into his cot at night, he dearly missed the plush cushion of her breast and how it would sink beneath the pressure of his head. It had been a year since she had last allowed him to suckle her, and still he mouthed at her chest for nourishment. Sometimes it felt as if the sweetness of her white milk was still warming his belly after all this time. He wanted to play in the woods, to roll in the dirt and chase the glowing golden eyes which sometimes peered out at him from between the trees. He thought they might be fireflies and wanted to catch them in his palms. Once, when Mummy was hanging the line, he got close enough that he could hear a baritone rumble. He thought that it sounded so full of warmth that it lulled him closer. The amber gems emerged in pairs, set by set. Reaching out his muddy little hands towards the trees, drenched in the orange earth, he stepped towards the pretty lights. When Mummy gasped and snatched him away, it was with grappling hands, and he wailed until it felt as if his throat had been rubbed raw by sand. Stricken, he had to be confined to his cot by Mummy. Closer every day, and closer every day. Mummy's voice was shrill as she said this, and maniacal. It made him cry all the more. She had sleepless rings of purple underneath her God-given eyes, and her mahogany skin was growing paler each day. They're hungry, Daddy said. With the city being the way it is, who can blame them for hunting down some easy pickings? We've been eating their food, now they've come for our children. Daddy and Mummy started raking their hands through their hair, then through each other's hair, as they started shouting. The next day they woke him early. They dressed him in red, and Mummy hugged him so tightly to her chest that he felt as if he was drowning in her. They took him away and he didn't see the woods again, or hear the soft rumble of his friends who lived there. Don't go into the woods, baby boy, she had told him again and again. There are wolves in the woods, but he so wanted to go to the woods and not to the water. The water splashed over the sides and made him cold and made his red shirts cling tightly to his skin. The noise of the water wasn't a rumble but a thunderous roar, and it seemed as if the sound itself was throwing him from side to side. God's angry, he thought, listening to his roar, and his tiny fingernails dug deep into his mummy's chest. She squeezed him so tight that he thought his heart might burst out of his mouth and chanted something under her breath over and over. Though she was quiet, he heard it like an echo beating off the water. Hafiz ala-lana, Hafiz ala-lana. Don't go into the woods, baby boy, she said, because she couldn't stand to think about going into the water. He went into the water with Mummy, and he came out without. He lay on his front just as he liked to sleep, with standing water puddled in his lungs. His red shirt rode up and the tide lapped gently against the top of his head. The sand was plush and gave way to the shape of his cheeks, just like her bosom. With his final thoughts, he heard Daddy's voice, saying the same thing it had been saying to him whenever Mummy wasn't around to hear. There are worse things in the woods, baby boy. There are worse things in the woods. Thank you.
Is Lucy Ann Jones here? No? Won't be her then. Amanda?
We did know that Lucy might not be able to make it. She's from Okay. Phyllis Jones also couldn't make it. He was really torn. He sent his apologies. He's also a musician who plays in a band. He really wanted to be here and have his work read. But the band were playing tonight in Bristol, and we had to point out to him several times it was impossible. He couldn't be in two places at the same time. But he is so sad, and he asked could somebody please read his story for him. The judge's comments on it included strong imagery, one of the entries that stuck with them after they finished reading everyone else's. So this is going to be read tonight by Kirsty Parsons.
I live on the beach of broken crabs. If you bring your dog here, it will roam in all the sea's muck. And that stench that last night's storm battered into the seashore will now be in the fabrics of your car. How you enjoy looking over the pushing waves, as if you could see the winds that drive them. Your son will find a separated claw and place it somewhere safe to show his friend back home. Cleaning up the car will feel like having sandy silks pulled from your own young feet, and you will have forgotten about collecting bits of crabs till you find a memento, gloriously orange, still wet, stinking, in your son's coat pocket.
Is Tom Gatehouse here? He's not.
Oh, I was being told me today.
Yeah.
Well, you know when people let you down, it's going to be a very quick first half, folks. We're hoping the second half goes better. Okay. Jenny Derrick here by any chance? No? Jenny hasn't read it? Well, I think it's true then. I think it's not very for the first half. I don't know what's happened here. Well, there's been problems on the road, I don't know, because none of them let me know, so.
Well, if they turn up, we can tuck them in as we've got plenty of time. Anyway, so just to close this first half, thank you all for coming. And remember, the fun doesn't have to end tonight, because every month on the first Thursday of the month we have Poems and Pints in the Cambrian Arms in the Mellon Neath. And honestly, I do encourage you all to make an effort to get there at least once, because the Poems and Pints is our bread and butter. It's where we get the money to put on this evening, because you know, try to make at least one or two a year, because honestly it's our bread and butter. It's what makes this all important, because as it says on the wall as you go to the car park in Swansea, more poetry is needed. It says in letters 50 foot high. Placed there by a council that then cut the arts budget to the bone. As Dylan Thomas said about licensing hours in Wales, this is the sort of hypocrisy only the Welsh are capable of. So I hope you've enjoyed the first half, such as it was. Please buy the books. Also, last year's anthology is now on a special offer, one day only, for £2. The previous year's anthology is available for the incredible, astonishing price of £1. Buy those and give them to your friends and make ideal Christmas presents. Also, you've got loads of wonderful raffle prizes, so enjoy the second half, and we'll have some music as well from the wonderful Hugh Butler and from Bob. Great folk music. Buy lots of raffle tickets, buy lots of books. Thanks very much.
Down in a wooded town, it's a close to you and child, but it's cry like vision goods. Oh, that's the universe. It's on to be all over town. It's something is going down. overcome. This sucker is broken down. This sucker is going down. This sucker is going down. Sometimes I cry, and passes I cry. It's time to move on now. The money's all gone now. Where did it go wrong now? All the souls the big girl. She smiled at me sweetly and locked me completely. I was some kind of love sick room. Like a long ways to the giant straight on. When the winters were rainbow, rockers all up to we float down the river. Sun past the ponds on the water. But in sunshine of cold, I look at cold like this. So we fill up the barge, we go from the yard down on the border. My exclamation was the way he said I'm going back home to Spain. Into the willow, on from Cambridge to Dreams only suffer from targets. We're not over my account. But I've been staying out
Our first prize, an amper of delight. The tender's very gods of Olympus. And the winner is 111 to 115 for a wonderful amper. Go down and get your prize. 111 to 115.
Hello everybody, hi. First, you're welcome back to the second half of tonight's events, which also includes the prize awards. But first of all, during the interval, which was longer than as usual, we have some news and we'd like to extend our congratulations to Mary Ann Farrer, who read in the first half, and her fiancé Harry. We're actually getting married next week, so congratulations. And next I'd like to invite all the judges onto the stage to join me, as well as last year's winner, Natalie Ann Holbrook, please. Ma'am?
How do you, sir? How do you, sir? Do I get in the back, boy?
I'm going to sing Rose.
Well,
I'm watching. Okay. Natalie is now going to present the awards. So I'm going to hand the mic to her to give her a little spiel she carries on. No, it's joint second.
Joint second.
It's
Who's first?
maybe understand.
It's the first prize awards. Okay. Sorry. It's lovely this year as well to see. It's the first year that we've got all female winners as well. So good.
This one as well, who was also a prize winner in the Robin Reeves Award. It's Mariella Stunning. And then in joint second, Rian Elizabeth and Christina Thatcher.
And a story full of many facets. It was one we really enjoyed. Mary has an MA in creative writing from Aberystwyth University, and she's published a children's book, Percy the Pompadour Bear. And so if we have any children, that'll make a wonderful Christmas or birthday present for them. She's also preparing a novel for publication called The Quiet Bones. And if a short fiction is anything to go by, I'm sure a debut novel will be a wonderful Welsh publication. It's something truly to look forward to. So to call upon Mary to give us a reading.
The story is called Cartref, and it was a little bit inspired by where I went to uni in Aberystwyth and saw dolphins, and a little bit by someone's mumgie. Have you ever been really, really cold? I'm talking so cold that you have to fold up in your bed, huddled into yourself to keep warm. You can feel your bones getting tired and stiff when it's that cold, and see your own breath in the darkness. That's how cold we were on our camping trip. Don't be ridiculous, Shal. I've bought you a hot water bottle. Bloody use it. Mam came into the kitchenette, the dog, Bucky, trailing behind her. She could hear me talking on the phone. This caravan was too small for any semblance of privacy. I rolled my eyes and hung up. I gave it to Darren, Mam. She was shivering. Darren looked up from her seat at the table and nodded. Last night's cold had sent her creeping into my bed to curl up beside me, shivering and shaking in her sleep. Well, you can keep warm today by helping me out, both of you. Come on. Darren looked back to her colouring in on the table and pretended not to have heard Mam. She picked up a fat blue crayon and poked out her little tongue, concentration moulding her face. Where's your brother, Shal? He's outside on the beach, I think, Mam. Well, go and fetch him. I want all hands on deck to get lunch ready. I sighed and climbed through the door of the caravan, stepping outside into the cold wind. The sand was soft and squelched underfoot as I picked my way through the dunes and along the coast, looking for my brother. Grey seas stretched out before me, huge and vast, beautiful and terrifying. Yanto! I called his name, but my voice was carried away in a gust of wind. Yanto! I dipped down one sandy dune, losing sight of the beach momentarily, then re-emerged on the next mound, sand crumbling beneath me like a miniature avalanche. Our lives were going the same way as the sand at the moment. Mam told us we were on a trip, a holiday, but I knew better. She hadn't paid the rent or the lecky again. I'd seen the letters with their big red banners up top. To top it all off, we'd brought Mamgie along with us and all. Get him to stop calling me all the time, Bach, she had said to my mother yesterday afternoon. How have you gone and signed up for this now, Mam? I don't bloody know, do I? Mamgie said, before scratching her chin and pulling at her clothes. Oh, I know what it was, that's right. I called the wrong number, trying to get BT I was, because the telly was playing up. But I got this number instead. They're phoning me all the time now. She scowled and looked at the old Nokia in her hands. Pass it here, Mamgie. I took the phone from her and hit redial. I nearly choked on my tea when a recording of a sultry male voice travelled through the line. Gay Bunny XXX chat! Giggling as I remembered the scowl on Mamgie's face, I traipsed until, way up along the coast, I could see the speck of my brother hunched over and small against the tie-dyed grey backdrop. What was he doing? Worried he might be hurt, I started jogging towards him, but the sand was impossible to run against, resisting every footstep like a cruel trick in a funhouse. I tried calling again, but my words were whipped up and carried off like ribbon behind me, back to Mam and Darren in the caravan. I kicked up a wet mound of residue left behind by burrowing lugworms, coils of sandy rope and a little tum path, evidence of what was beneath the soggy surface. I felt as though I was dreaming, moving closer and closer to my brother while he drew further and further away. Finally, his figure began to grow larger in my vision. He was crouched on the sand, right at the shore, as close to the sea as he could be without being submerged in water. Something lay in front of him, an animal. My mind jumped to Bucky, despite the thing near Yanto being twice her size. I remembered then that Bucky had been in the caravan when I left, safely at Manny's side, when she peeled potatoes for dinner. I began to jog again towards Yanto. He looked up and saw me, only meters away now, right as I drew close enough to recognise the hulk on the sand before him. It was a dolphin. That's all I'm going to read for now.
If you want to hear the rest of the stories, you've got to buy the book. There's a reason why I said not to read them all. Sneaky, see. Right, the next person up is Maria and Elizabeth. I wrote that down wrong every time. Right, she's runner-up for her short story. The judges' comments were on a good... start again. Right, judges again commented on the good descriptive characterisation, the realistic and closely observed lives that you could empathise with, and they made the reader ask questions that had a satisfying conclusion. The story was inspired by 3 women who she passes regularly while they're out running, and inflamed by biased press coverage of foreign nationals. Rian states she just wanted to write a story, this real story, about how, in spite of different colours, gods, cultures, for the most part, we all actually get along. Rian was born in the South Wales Valley in 1988. Her debut novel, £6, 8 ounces, was published by Seren Books in 2014, and she's been published in numerous print anthologies and online. She started writing when she was a child, and first realised that writing was the thing she wanted to do most of all when at age 8 she won a story competition in the St David's Day in Eisteddfod. She very much enjoyed standing up on stage in front of everyone in school and milking the applause and cheers. She is still writing 20 years later. However, somehow it's taken her that long to win a prize again. So she really needs to milk the applause, folks. So a big round of applause.
This is supposed to be a story about multiculturalism and how we all get along, but after last night, obviously not. So, there we go. It's called The Runners. The streaks of bacon came alive in the pan, dancing in the oil that sizzled and spat at her from the cooker top. It had been quite some time since any cubes of white fish, any pinches of turmeric, hunks of chili peppers, or any of those ingredients so familiar to Samina had graced her pots and pans. Martha jar was once her husband's favourite. He was sitting at the breakfast table, his blue-striped pyjamas not properly buttoned, his newspaper shook, chair creaking as he turned to see what was going on with the cooker. He'd better not be bloody burning it. It had been years since Samina last burned Ali's bacon. The sandwich was served to him on a china side plate, just the way he liked it. Bacon fat crispy, the slices of bread generously buttered. How is it, she asked him. Ali only grunted. She sat opposite him and they drank tea out of mugs. Samina was all ready to go. She had been ready long before Ali had woken to take in the delivery of newspapers and those pyjamas that were not buttoned correctly and with hair that had not yet been combed. And like her husband, Samina welcomed each morning of the day with great enthusiasm because mornings were spent running with Pam and Gloria, 2 women who were just once customers in the shop, but over the years had become good friends. Why don't you eat something? You are becoming very thin. Samina's answer was as customary as her husband's question. You know I don't run on a full stomach. It's enough of a burden to run in all of this. All of this was her sari, green in colour that morning, the colour of the trees on the mountain that surrounded the running track she was so keen to leave to get to. Samina thought that she resembled a tree herself in that sari, that flowed down to her ankles, only instead of a trunk, 2 Nike trainers sprouted out the bottom of her. Where is your head scarf? It's too hot to wear running, I sweat terrible in it. Nonsense, it's bloody freezing, always bloody freezing here. Samina longed for a tracksuit, like the comfortable tracksuits Pam and Gloria wore when they ran. When she mentioned that she might possibly purchase one of her own, Ali thumped his mug onto the table, like a judge with a gavel. No. A piece of bacon escaped from the bread as Ali took a ripping bite. He caught it in his mouth, the crispy black pink meat hanging from his lips like a charred worm. Samina thought her husband to be a hypocrite. Her running friends were also married. Pam had Bob and Gloria had Steve. The three husbands drank pints of beer at the pub every Friday night. Samina would have kept her running a secret, but there was no chance of that with Pam and Gloria. Ali lifted up the tablecloth. He bought the trainers she wore. A surprise gift one evening, and no one was more surprised than Samina when she opened the shoebox lid and saw them inside. You should be grateful I let you wear those. What is the world coming to? A woman running. A woman in a man's shoe. Who do you think you are, David bloody Beckham? The sun had risen soon after Samina, but the morning was still in darkness when she left. Trees had begun to shake off their leaves, and if Samina truly was a tree, she would have shook off her sari in exactly the same way. The colours of the leaves, orange and brown and red, reminded her of the spices and powders that once lit up her dull wooden kitchen racks, and as she walked, they crunched under her trainers like juicy bugs. She saw the running track up ahead and felt a tingling in her stomach. I saw the pins and needles in the soles of her feet. There were no lane markers in the red gravel, and no stand for spectators. It was just a simple running track with a football field in the middle. But on cold, early mornings, that simple track, surrounded by mountains, belonged to the three women, the runners, and to them only. When Samina first saw the mountains all those years ago, they had taken her breath away, like wide green skyscrapers. But now she looked upon them with familiarity, as if she were looking at a painting that had hung in a frame on her family's wall for generations. Pam and Gloria were already there. You could not miss them in their matching fluorescent pink tracksuits. They radiated like two glowworms against the misty green backdrop. Gloria wore a sweatband. It pushed her curly grey hair up towards the sky and made it look like she was wearing some kind of vegetable on her head, a floret of broccoli for a hat. She was doing some stretches. Gloria took her running very seriously. Morning, Sammy. That is what they called her, though Samina had never asked for a name to be shortened in such a way. She didn't mind it. After all, if it wasn't for the two women, she would never have known the pleasures of running. Pam and Gloria invited her along with them one morning when they came in for their bottles of mineral water. The three women did not run fast, but side by side, with Samina in the middle, and they would stop when they felt satisfied that they had run enough or achieved whatever small goal they had set themselves that day. Pam ran because of her husband, Bob, who teased her about her bingo wings, and she had put on a lot of weight during their marriage. Gloria had a health problem she didn't like to speak about. It was just understood that she was fighting something awful, but something that she was determined to beat, determined to outrun. So the women ran and sweated their troubles away, and those troubles trickled out of each pore one by one, then lost to the red gravel below. The runners started off at a good pace that gradually and naturally slowed the longer time went on. Their run was always soundtracked by conversation and the beeps of watches. Gloria's had a square black face that counted her steps, while Pam's counted how many calories she had burned. The only thing Samina's watch counted was the seconds that went by. 10 pounds I've dropped in 3 months, Pam said. Perhaps they'll put a bit of spark back in the bedroom. Gloria added that her and Steve were out like rabbits, which according to Gloria was marvellous for a couple in their 40s. We haven't done that since the 80s, Pam scoffed, because any time my Bob gets out of his armchairs when he needs the bog. She would never speak these thoughts, but Samina knew that her and Ali never had those kinds of troubles, not nearly 30 years of marriage. He brought her flowers, always pink carnations, every Sunday morning from the shop below. Pam could not remember the last time Bob bought her flowers. Gloria laughed and said that Steve wouldn't bother to send flowers to her funeral. He lost $3 grand last month, and that's only what I know about. Pam stopped dead in her tracks, stunned at Gloria's revelation about her husband's secret gambling antics. The other two followed. Pam sucked keenly from her water bottle, and Samina swigged from the Highland Spring she had taken from the shop fridge. Her friends had long ago stopped buying them because now they had plastic sports bottles that they filled beforehand with tap water. Gloria did not need a drink. She had hardly broken a sweat by her own admission and was keen to get going again. Despite her health condition, Gloria was the more competitive of the three runners. She was like the army sergeant, the pink broccoli head sergeant shouting orders at the troops. She was a fierce and focused creature when she ran, which made it even harder for Samina to understand why she let her Steve treat her so badly. But both Pam and Samina were glad of the break and the chance to catch their breaths. For Samina, it was also a chance to adjust her sari. She sweat a lot more than the other runners, and it was not because she was less fit. It was because of the silk that stuck to her back. She had thought it beautiful and ornate at the time of buying it, and now she was resenting it more than she had ever resented anything in her life. The thick gold trim around the collar edged her neck, tiny beads like insects nibbling at her skin, and silver sequins that chafed her wrists as if she was hiding a rash beneath her sleeves. But worst of all, the draping silk prevented her shoulders and arms from moving in a way that was natural and necessary for running. Her legs were confined by the tight material that bound and trapped her knees whichever way she moved. She could not lift them properly. It was just like running in a straitjacket. Once the runners had finished discussing how much money Steve had lost at the bookmakers, and how it meant Gloria would have to wait a little longer to save up to get the crack in her conservatory door fixed, they set off again. The two in pink remarking that Samina was quiet that morning. They did not realise she had problems of her own, beads and sequins and chafing wrists. Tell us about India, Pam said, her breath coming out in fast white clouds. Tell us about that lovely temple place you went to pray. Neither Pam or Gloria had been out of the country. The travelling they did was to Butlins on the minibus, the early boozy pilgrimage that Samina was not allowed on. Pam had only been to Blackpool for her honeymoon, and Gloria once down to Devon in a caravan back when the kids were small. So tales of hot summers in India were always longed for, especially on chilly, misty autumn mornings. If they thought that their lives were as grey and miserable as the weather, as stock still as the mountains around the track, to them at least, Samina's life was some kind of kaleidoscopic, incest-scented, silver-sequin Bollywood movie, and on those cold, grey, misty mornings, the two women begged her to play it for them over and over again.
This year we decided to have two second prize winners. Second prize winner, short story, which if you've just heard, a marvellous short story. And the second prize, poetry. The second prize in poetry this year was Christina Thatcher. She entered a number of poems. All of them scored highly with the judges, but the one which scored the most marks was Keeping Warm, which was a wonderful evocation, a wonderful poem of place, a wonderful celebration of Wales. Christina Thatcher is a PhD student and a postgraduate tutor at Cardiff University, where she studies how creative writing can impact the lives of people bereaved by addiction. And some of her poems are on this theme. They're really wonderful, moving poems. Christine has been published in Interpreter's House, The Lonely Crowd, Bear Fiction, and Cake magazine. So I'd ask Christina Thatcher to come up and read some of her poems in the book, please. Thank you.
Okay. So as some of you who I've spoken to throughout the night might have been able to tell, or perhaps you might be able to tell now, that I'm not myself Welsh, but I've been living in Wales for the last 6 years, and there's no place that I would rather call my home. So I feel really lucky to be part of the prize winners tonight, and I'm going to be reading you two poems, one that's been included in the anthology, and then the winning one that Phil just mentioned. So one of the things in between talking about my curiosities and writing about death has been for me to try and capture my new home, to try and capture Wales. And it's been quite difficult. This poem might attest to that. It's called Untranslatable. A folded map on loan from the bookshop leads me here, to a spot on the Y, where I sit alone and think that paint could never replicate this, could never reflect the green moss spilled like summer soup across the rocks, or capture the sprawl, the smooth peaks, the low-slung valleys, the quick fish just under the surface. There is no art for this Welsh feeling of coming home to nature. Still, we try to bottle it, splash it up on canvases, and I am no better a poet on the ground, dipping my feet into the rushing water where thousands of feet have slipped in before, quiet, grateful, writing a poem that will never be a river. So this is the poem that got the second prize poetry, which is wonderful. I just wanted to say a little bit about the inspiration. The inspiration for this poem came from a book by Horatio Clare called A Single Swallow, which follows a swallow's journey from South Africa to South Wales. And in it, Horatio Clare talks about whales being a coat that keeps us warm. So this piece is called Keeping Warm, after Horatio Clare. Wales is a small coat made of deep pockets. So I plunge my hands in to search for treasures and fish out. Steep climbs towards changing skies, wild rivers thrusting through a hilly landscape, blackbirds chirping sharply on a sagging zigzag fence. I pull out steeples, churches, the sound of singing, bells, signs with words I know but can't pronounce. Home words. In the seams, I find the skeletons of naked trees in winter, crumpled forest ferns, bits of caked mud. My fingers smell of damp and wood smoke, thin wisps of cinnamon, strong home brews. They are so much deeper than I thought. These pockets made of Brecon caves, dark and light, hot and cold, drawing me in to this warm and steadfast place. Thank you.
Next I'm going to call up Natalie Ann Holbrook, last year's winner. We've already met her handing out the awards. Runner-up in Wales Pen Cymru's New Voices competition that she was recently named in, so that was really good news. There's nothing more I can say about Natalie. We've got a greater thing than I thought when I was looking to write about her and her writing. There's a piece in Wales Arts Review about the emerging voices of Welsh poetry. And what that said was Natalie Ann Holbrook is certainly a name for the future. Already a winner of the Terry Hetherington Young Writers Prize, she has this year added the prestigious Robin Rees Prize for Young Writers to that trophy cabinet. Her first collection is due out with Parthian later this year, and I'm sure it'll be well worth getting. She's a fabulous writer. We have watched Natalie grow. She's one of the many writers we have followed, and she's developed both in her writing career and as a person. She's a lovely, lovely, talented young woman that has time for her family and her friends. And anybody, and I mean anybody's cat. She doesn't mind whose cat it is. She has a wonderful sense of humour and a personality. She loves to run for charitable events, so keep up with her if you can. Natalie Ann Holbrook.
Thank you. I was trying to forget about the running. I stupidly signed up to a half marathon on Sunday, which I'm completely regretting because I want to drink it tomorrow, but never mind. This one's a poem. I think we all know that Odysseus had a lot of fun in Greek mythology, but I'd like to believe that Penelope didn't sit by a window and just wait for him. So this is Penelope. There are several ways to deal with things like this. First of all, I turned his absence into a dress of crushed peach, wore his sailing shade against my hip. These sad impressions of the body, silk islands. I avoided the danger of flesh-coloured skirts on the thigh. There are other things I could do. I could cradle his heap of clothes like a soft baby. I could drop them down the stairs, or arrange them into his shape, kid myself, even though he's dissolved into must and collar starch. Moth-nibbled, leave his scent forever on the staircase.
I could take off my shoes in the evening and bring his dead shirts to my nose, feel the weight of the world in my arms. Yet, in the nights, under moon-cracked skies, I can picture him sunk in a seabed and have him lit like a searchlight. I think of him, my silk skirt screwed in a stranger's fist. Time to move on, as they say. I don't even notice the door click shut, his wrecked and shaking return.
Before I introduce the next one, I want to double check that Emily Blewett is another person who's not made it. No? Okay, that's great. Next we have a reading by Kirsty Parsons. It was written by Carl Griffin, who was asked that somebody else read it for him. He's a private man. Carl Griffin is from Swansea. He is a poetry editor of Wales Arts Review and part of a group called Spin, a cyber poem swap feedback experiment, and a widely published poet. So Kirsty's going to read his poem for us now.
It's a bit fiddly, this one, so I'll give it my best. These ground-ruptured cracks on the Santa Clarita roads are thick enough to wedge sardines in. That's what Van Elk does. The brine-coated school making their crack-a-weir on the beach Seine, whose bycatch are there to fool us as we drive to the white oil and the canyons. The sea is bursting through the concrete, and here is the first shoal of pelagic fish in a sunlit zone. But I can't swim in aromas. There is no sea without water, just as there is no splash of rivering enchantment without distance.
Don't leave, son! It's you now!
Dribble on.
Shall I do his gushing introduction? Oh, he's back there, I can do his gushing introduction. It's Sean Thomas Owen. It's a Welsh Renaissance man. Twice the runner-up in the Terry Etherington Award. 6 times presenting a television programme, Pablo Ronda, and S4C. He's a writer, a TV presenter, a graphic artist. He is a true all-rounder. He's a red poet. He's not a dead poet. It's Sean Thomas Owen.
Thank you, Phil. I'm not a short poet either, so I'm you ready?
Good evening.
Can you hear me? Yes. Well, I wrote this about 6 weeks ago, and at the time it was part. I got a book coming out in the summer, and there was an idea in the book about a screenplay that could promote Wales, and trying to find somebody who could embody Wales, but then also promote it and make a good film. So I came up with a tagline, and it was about a certain character, and the film's called Vermin. And the tagline was, he put him in a hospital that he founded. And it was about an Aidan Bevan coming back as the Terminator to hopefully it was a strange word to say now, but to enact a clause that if anyone privatised the NHS, he would come back and terminate them. So this is quite a short story, so I'm not sure I might be able to fit it in. I'm not supposed to, am I supposed to read a bit? Snippets. So this is yeah, so it's not very long. It's in 3 parts, and they're all eyewitness accounts of the incident. This is on the junior doctor picket line, University College Hospital, London. I'm telling you, it was him. Are you sure it wasn't a lookalike, like a publicity stunt? It would have been a pretty weak one if it was. There was no cameras and I haven't seen anything on Twitter or Facebook. Plus he only turned up, asked a few questions, then left. What did he ask you? He just walked over to us, stared around a bit, then leaned over me and asked me what we were doing. I told him we were junior doctors striking over the government's proposals to change our contracts. What did he say? He said he had to do the very same thing to establish the NHS, but it turned out for the best. He was on the Tory side. That's exactly what I said. So I told him about the Tories' plan to break us down and eventually privatise the whole thing, and give him the Chomsky quote about privatisation, to defund it, make sure things don't work, people get angry, then you just hand it over to the private sector. Poof, end of the NHS. I shit you not, you should have seen him. What? He stood up, and then one of his eyes started glowing red. Shut up, you idiot. I am telling him, his eye turned red like a bloody robot. Maybe it was an implant or something. And then he started muttering, sounded like an old PC processor. I thought maybe he was having a stroke or something, so I sat him down and wrapped my coat around his shoulders. He started repeating something about coming back to save us, so I thought, oh, delirium, he's probably diabetic hypo or something. Then he just shot up, and I tried to stop him, but he was much stronger than he looked. So I gave him my NHS discount card, and got him some chocolate from a chemist over the road and told him that I'd be on shift in the hospital in case he needed anything. So we gave him your clothes, your boots voucher and your motorcycle. Of course I did, do you care? We may be on strike, but you can't expect me not to have the founder of the NHS. Well, come on, you don't really believe he was a Nathan Behrman? Surely he's been dead for 50 years. I'm telling you, it was him, but with a glowing red eye. Is that your pager? Nah, it's just a tweet notification. Jesus Christ! That's your coat, isn't it? Oh my God, that's him! See, I told you! Did he have a gun on when he left you? St Thomas's Hospital, Westminster Bridge Road, London. The emergency services were stressed as it was, but this was an exceptional circumstance. They were called it a terrorist assassination incident, an attack right inside the House of Commons chamber. Nobody would have believed it. They erected pillars of concrete to stop anyone driving to the lobby with explosives and whatnot, and supposedly the assassin simply walked in through the security gates. They shot him, and it didn't stop him. Even the most advanced Kevlar, that would be impossible. BBC Parliament transmitted the whole incident live from the chamber, but since the whole thing was over in a matter of minutes, it was now on 24-hour news channels being repeated, slow-mosed, analysed to death, literally. The speculations of incendiary commentary about the identity of the gunman was rife. I had seen the footage and had my own theories, but now he was lying before me on an operating table, not a scratch on him, and I had to try and bring him back to life. I was charged with bringing, by all accounts, Nye Bevan back to life. Bevan, the founder of the National Health Service, which I have served my entire working life, who had died of cancer in July 6, 1960, I googled it. I was told he had escaped security and police at Westminster, but turned up here at the hospital and requested me personally before collapsing in A&E. He was currently handcuffed and restrained to the bed in a heavily guarded operating theatre, unresponsive and without a pulse. He had tried to insert a cannula, but couldn't pierce the skin. Must have been faulty cannulas. We put 1,000 volts in it, nothing, not even a jerk, which could not have been 40 barrels, so it was totally impossible. Yet I saw it with my own eyes. I pronounced him dead in 1948. The assistant surgeon left the room when I was alone with him, or whatever he was. He looked exactly like I remember seeing in photographs and footage of his speeches. His thick white hair combed across his head, dark lidded eyes, and thoughtful mouth, almost in a wry smile. The only thing missing was mischievous eyes and the unmistakable orator's voice. It was unnerving. I could not work it out. It was definitely not a mask or makeup. It looked exactly like him. Only now he was dead. Again. Nobody was listening. The guards were facing away from us. I would never get this chance again. I checked the door and leaned over him and whispered, "Mr. Bevan, I just want to say, regardless of the circumstances, I just want to thank you for everything you did. Your legacy is immeasurable to those of us who work for it. Use it and cherish it. And although I don't condone violence or murder, that's the reason I became a doctor in the first place, but shooting that bloody health secretary who denigrated us, lied to us and tried to break us, you've done what many of us doctors felt like doing. the Tories, and particularly that man, is lower than vermin. I pulled back as Bevan turned his head towards me, his one eye glowing red. I staggered backwards as if I'd been hit in the chest. He tore his arm away from the bed, breaking his restraints and handcuffs, and jumped to his feet. He reached for the scalpel on the tray and cut his arm, but there was no blood. He pulled back the skin to reveal a metal-plated structure. I tried to call for the guard, but my voice caught in my throat. As he moved his fingers, small hydraulic pumps hissed. He used the scalpel to twist something within the pumps. The hissing stopped, and his eyes stopped glowing red. He folded the skin back down and turned towards me. "Thank you for your cooperation," he said in his inimitable Welsh accent. I could only nod as he pulled sunglasses out of his pocket and put them on. "Hasta Taviga, baby." He turned and just the hallway and threw himself through the glass of the fourth floor window. Diplomatic Protection Agency eyewitness account, Westminster Palace, London. The perpetrator walked towards the entrance of Westminster Palace. He was asked to adhere to the rules of the public and form an orderly queue. We asked him to stop and remove the sunglasses. He did not seek to react to our request. He was approached and he arrived near the scanner. I brushed Officer Kyle away and walked through the scanner, setting the alarm off. We asked him to stop, again, and he did not. We gave him the warning, and he did not stop. We would be forced to apprehend him. Officer Kyle, again, approached him and was thrown aside by the perpetrator. We drew our weapons and I shot him in the leg. He did not react, and a bullet hit Officer Armour in the arm. We opened fire, but he continued to walk towards the central lobby. I radioed for assistance, and Connor, Silverman, and I followed him to the St. Stephen's Hall. I aimed for the headshot, and sir, I'm telling you, the bullet hit the back of his head and ricocheted back, hitting Silverman in the leg. We followed him to the Commons lobby, where he paused at Churchill's arch, raised 2 fingers to the statue before entering. Sergeant at Arms, eyewitness account, Westminster Palace, London. There were not many in attendance in the chamber. The Health Secretary was addressing concerns by the Shadow Health Minister about the new contracts he had decided to impose on junior doctors. He had just been reprimanded for the Speaker for fiddling ostentatiously with his smartphone as he was being addressed by the Shadow Minister. A spurt of shots and shouting was heard from outside the chamber. Then a few moments later the doors opened and, as I live and breathe, a Nyman Bevan, or someone who looked remarkably like him, walked into the chamber. The Speaker, without missing a beat, addressed him, but Bevan did not acknowledge him, but walked straight up to the dispatch box, and word for word recited, as if by recording, his famous speech denouncing the Tories in 1948. Then his voice seemed to change, and he said something about a hidden clause in the original National Health Service Act 1946, and if anyone attempted to destroy or privatise the NHS, he would put them in a hospital that he had founded. He then produced a rather large gun out of the coat and shot the Health Secretary in the head, waking half of the backbenchers. National newspaper headlines. The Guardian. Security questions as bionic AI kills in Commons. The Sun. Hunt Labour's killer robot! The Daily Mail. EU-funded socialist assassin murders democracy. The Daily Express. Migrant-built robot Bevan. Readers ask, why not bring back Diana?
Also, Sean has a book coming out, Cowl, and it's funded by crowdfunding. I'm not all fame with the internet, so I haven't got a clue what that is, but apparently it means he needs your support. I thought publishers fund people asking. It sounds truly bizarre, if not underhand. I don't know. It's bizarre, rather strange, disturbing concept explained. Ask Sean. Now it's going to be a bit like that bit in the Oscars, where unfortunately he is now filming on location in Timbuktu, so he can't be with us to receive his award or her part. It's Whitbrew, who was one of our most popular writers. She writes very humorous pieces, and now, thanks to the magic of Alan Kellerman, We shall now have a presentation by Whitfield.
Good evening. I would love to be there, but I'm in California, so I would like to thank the editors and trustees in my absence, especially Ada, for her continued support. And I'll be reading you my poem, The Marriage of Wales and England. The marriage of Wales and England, All Saints' Day, the year of our Lord, 1204. John to Llewellyn. I know not what I bring to you, save access to the body and bloodline that my father promised you. Did he tell you that I am the unclaimed one? As we drink your Welsh myth to celebrate our union, the lords of England and France will laugh until they spill their wine and ale, but not one of them would have married me. I wept as we crossed the sea from France, but I promised that my eyes would not cry once I had stepped upon my father's land. He greeted me as a stranger and bade me prepare for the mountains. I pray to the Virgin Mary, but you are not as harsh as your land. Although she did not heed my pleas when I asked her to stay the womanly blood betwixt my legs to lengthen my journey to you. But I will have 15 years in spring, so even my womb does as my father bids. Margaret told me that you would be wild, that you will have practiced for our wedding night by making use your wife. She said that I may have to plait my hair to make curls for your desire, but I will cut the hair from my head like a widow before I become your beast. I ensured that the sleeves of my gown are long enough to hide my fingers. Should they tremble when you draw near? I have not yet decided how much I will hate you, but I see that you are strong beneath the strange cut of your clothes. So I will not struggle when you come to unlock my body. I know that you speak Norman French to soothe my ear, but let me sing to our daughter, so she will hear the flow unbroken, not shattered syllables on stones of the falling river. Yet, in all rivers there are still pools. And tomorrow, I will wash the memory of you from my body. This cloth is fine French linen, sewn with days that are fading now. So please, husband, all I ask is that when you come to tear my flesh, you do not tear my dress. Llewellyn to Jean. The people of my country once believed that upon this day the year began anew. In places where deep moss conceals oaks as knotted as a ew's winter woe, there are some who still believe. They will not enter the house of God. They will not see me kneel to seal my supplication in a contract of flesh. They will not see me pledge myself to England's unwanted daughter. I have angered the king of the Isles and forsaken the cold beauty of women who would have understood soft Welsh words spoken on breasts the same as mine, to please your father, to secure my kingdom. But there are those who will say, the for the sake of the name, Llewellyn has sold Wales to John. If my country is the price and your body the copper, then I will fill it with the coin of my seed. There are harsher ways to win a kingdom than in the soft fold of your youth. If there be sons, and let there be many, they will have my Welsh courage annexed to your English tenacity and French fecundity. If I could cut with your little shears a piece of linen from your dress today, I would save it through the coming years. I would cleave to it as your hatred grew. I would gaze at its clean perfection. For your resentment will swell with the cry of each babe and the sound of every foreign word. And I won't be able to show you that the strength of your fabric was woven with such integrity that no father or husband or country could shape it to their will. Thank you.
I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to get through this as quickly as possible. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate the winners, Mariella Stunning, Christina Thatcher, and Rhian Elizabeth. I'm going to read 3 poems for you. They're all about longing. The first one is called Be With Me Now. I am surrounded by what should have been inspiration. A distant wooden hut under a willow, dragonflies dodging flowers I don't know the name of in any language. Sycamore helicopters took mark on my pages. Children play at my feet, softening the consonants of words whose meaning can only be understood if you are 2 and the swimming pool is an ocean. Yes, when the sun shone, and the wind and the numbness of everything was what should have filled page after page after page, I couldn't write the poem that was meant for you. But if you should find a brief moment between this and that, with words exchanged in between have to be taken care of, you'll find my poem in the rings inside your coffee cup, in the mark left by your lips, in the seconds where you paused long enough to hear everything I left unspoken. The second poem is the final poem in my recent collection, The Elephant's Foot. It's available in all good bookshops right now. It's called I Want to Be There. I want to be there where time and space do not allow. In your photograph, where then and now is the difference in a day's age. Where you were, who you were with. To both watch and be your first kiss, first caress. To collect every tear you've ever shed. And be everyone with whom you've ever shared bed, a hug, a glance, an exchange of moments, pains, achievements, careers and family engagements. To be there where you are now and forever. And count every blink of your eyes. An infinite number of butterfly enclosures, slow motion flutters. To see you first born without a trace of life's tensions or a care. Your last living moments, everything in between. I want to be there. The final poem I'm going to read for you is very, very new. It will only appear in this anthology. I'll probably never publish it again. It's called If You Were a Poem. If you were a poem, you'd be the perfect edit of the lines that move me the most. Every word would matter, and there'd be a staggered rhyme, contemporary enough to be Western, classic enough to be Eastern. There's too much of you to be a haiku, and you're too complex to be a rhyming couplet. Freeform just doesn't do you justice. If you were a poem, even water would listen. Through some unknown intuition, people, everyone would know you were being read. Stop, everything would stop and go again, smiling as if they'd just felt the first human touch, like the fingers of new lovers in a cinema or a cafe, or the embrace of estranged relations. A child torn from its mother found 100 years later. Quite simply, all words would be inadequate and all voices unworthy. The page would be empty, the world silent. And while we waited in anticipation, someone somewhere would try to imagine you, and write or paint. Every work of art would contain something of you. we would no longer need air to breathe. And the final line, because every poem requires one, would be so unimaginably beautiful that and that's the end of that. Again, congratulations to this year's winners. I hope you're all having a good evening. It's gonna rain here soon, so I'd better be going. I've got the baby behind the camera, so I don't want it to get wet. Hopefully see you all in future at some point. Take care.
Rose and Jonathan for putting the book together. You've done a sterling job. You've done us proud. Thank you very much. And, I want to thank all those people who entered. If you didn't enter, we wouldn't have a book, we wouldn't have a competition. So do enter again. Get your friends to enter. If you know anybody under the age of 30 who was born or is currently in residence in Wales, get them to enter. We want loads of entries. We want to read into this steam coming out of our eyes and blood coming out of our ears. Because it's your entries that make it all possible. So please enter again, get all your friends to enter again, and even people you dislike to enter. Even get to enter because we need it. And above all, I just want to end by thanking Amanda, my co-presenter tonight, Amanda Davis, but at Blaster, I just want to thank Ida Birch, who is the spirit, who is the heart. His legacy lives on. So thank you very much, Aida. Yes.
Book selling, done back then.
Thank you very much.
I'm not going to the website and everything.
On the smelly tables.